someone he outranked in privilege, power, and the capacity to fight back.
Hollywood's most celebrated actress has built a reputation for grace, talent, and professionalism spanning decades. But behind the Academy Award speeches and critical acclaim lies a series of industry relationships fraught with tension. While publicly maintaining her composure, Meryl Streep has reportedly harbored strong feelings about certain colleagues throughout her storied career. The woman with 21 Oscar nominations may be revered on screen, but behind closed doors, she's reportedly unafraid to draw clear boundaries with those who cross her. Here are 7 celebrities who've allegedly fallen out of favor with the acting legend the most. Let's get into it.
Donald Trump.
Long before his political ascent, Trump and Streep maintained a cordial relationship in New York social circles. They shared red carpet moments and charity galas throughout the 1980s and 1990s, with Trump once even naming Streep among his favorite actresses in interviews. Photographs from the 1998 Screen Actors Guild Awards show them in seemingly pleasant conversation, a moment that would become almost unimaginable decades later. The dynamic shifted dramatically during the 2016 presidential campaign, setting the stage for what would become one of Hollywood's most publicized political rivalries. The breaking point came during Streep's acceptance speech at the 2017 Golden Globes. Without naming Trump directly, she delivered a blistering critique of his infamous mocking of a disabled reporter. It was that moment when the person asking to sit in the most respected seat in our country imitated a disabled reporter, someone he outranked in privilege, power, and the capacity to fight back, Streep declared to millions of viewers. It kind of broke my heart when I saw it, and I still can't get it out of my head. Her voice trembled slightly as she continued. When the powerful use their position to bully others, we all lose. The speech immediately went viral, with political commentators declaring it one of the most significant cultural moments of the early Trump presidency. The receipts came swiftly. Trump responded by calling Streep one of the most overrated actresses in Hollywood and a Hillary flunky who lost big in a series of tweets. In subsequent interviews, he doubled down, dismissing her as a liberal elite disconnected from everyday Americans. "I was never a fan of hers," Trump told the New York Times despite his earlier praise decades before. "She's a Hillary supporter, and I knew that." According to those in Streep's circle, she was not surprised by the response, but remained steadfast in her criticism. One longtime friend of the actress told Vanity Fair, "Meryl expected the backlash. She told me, if speaking truth means making enemies, I'm prepared for that." The fallout has been permanent. In subsequent years, Streep has continued to make veiled references to Trump in speeches and interviews, while Trump reportedly banned any mention of Streep's films in the White House during his presidency. At a 2018 press event, when asked about their feud, Streep simply stated, "Some relationships aren't worth salvaging." Industry insiders claim the actress keeps a collection of the former president's attacks as a reminder of why she believes speaking out matters. The feud represents more than a celebrity spat. It symbolizes the deep cultural divide that has defined American politics in recent years. Former collaborators say Streep views her stance against Trump not as a personal vendetta, but as a moral obligation. For Meryl, one director who's worked with her multiple times explained, "This isn't about politics. It's about human decency." Tommy Lee Jones. On screen, they portrayed a troubled married couple in the 2012 dramedy Hope Springs. Off screen, the tension between these two acting powerhouses was palpable enough to create a notoriously uncomfortable set. Jones, known for his intense demeanor and no-nonsense approach to filmmaking, reportedly clashed with Streep's more collaborative style from the first day of production. The contrast couldn't have been more stark. Streep's warm, exploratory approach to character development versus Jones's rigid, predetermined interpretation. The catalyst came during early rehearsals when, according to crew members who spoke to The Hollywood Reporter, Jones became visibly frustrated with Streep's habit of suggesting script adjustments and character motivations. Tommy wanted to stick to the script exactly as written. One production assistant reportedly said, "Meryl's process involves more exploration. It was like watching two different acting schools collide in real time. Another crew member described witnessing Jones roll his eyes during Streep's suggestions in table reads, creating an atmosphere that the film's writer later characterized as Arctic. The standoff between America's most acclaimed actress and one of its most intimidating actors created what one camera operator called the most professional tension I've ever witnessed. They never raised their voices, but you could feel the ice forming between them. The tension reached its peak during a pivotal emotional scene that required multiple takes. According to director David Frankel, who later discussed the dynamic in cautious terms, they had different approaches to reaching the emotional truth of the moment. What he didn't say publicly, but was widely reported by set sources, was that Jones allegedly walked off set after Streep suggested an alternative reading of a crucial line. When he returned, witnesses claim he told her, "I cannot work when you keep changing things. Just say the words as they're written." A makeup artist present that day reportedly overheard Streep respond with characteristic restraint. "After 40 years in this business, I've found there's more than one way to honor a writer's intentions." The exchange apparently left several crew members in uncomfortable silence. The aftermath has been telling. Despite the film's modest success, Streep and Jones have never worked together again, and notably avoided each other during the press tour. Red carpet photographs reveal the actors strategically positioned with cast members between them, rarely making direct eye contact. When asked about their chemistry in interviews, Streep diplomatically praised Jones's talent while carefully avoiding any mention of their personal rapport. "Tommy brings such intensity to every role," she told Ellen DeGeneres, her smile never quite reaching her eyes. "He's absolutely committed to his vision." For his part, Jones once replied to a journalist's question about working with Streep with a terse, "I've said all I have to say about that experience." Hollywood insiders maintain that both actors have privately requested not to be cast opposite each other in subsequent projects. Their agents know better than to even suggest it. One casting director for a major studio confided to The Wrap, "It's not that they hate each other, it's that their creative processes are fundamentally incompatible." One producer who worked with Streep years later claims she once declined a promising script after learning Jones was being courted for the male lead. She simply said, "I think we've already discovered we're not the right scene partners for each other," the producer recalled. There was no anger in it, just clarity. Lindsay Lohan. The generational gap between these actresses became a chasm during the filming of Prairie Home Companion in 2006. Streep, then approaching 60 and renowned for her meticulous preparation, reportedly found herself increasingly frustrated with Lohan's unpredictable behavior on set. The then 20-year-old Lohan was in the midst of personal struggles that would soon overshadow her once promising career. What might have been a mentorship opportunity instead became, according to one assistant director, a masterclass in professional forbearance on Meryl's part. Tensions ignited when Lohan reportedly arrived 4 hours late to a key scene featuring her and Streep. According to multiple crew members who later spoke to Vanity Fair, Streep had been on set since 5 a.m., fully prepared and waiting. Director Robert Altman, in one of his final films before his death, attempted to mediate the situation, but the damage to the working relationship had been done. One production assistant claimed Streep was overheard saying, "This isn't how professionals behave in this industry." What made the situation particularly poignant was that Streep had reportedly approached the project partly out of admiration for Lohan's early work, telling Altman she saw glimpses of extraordinary talent in the young actress's performances. Behind the scenes, the conflict deepened. Costume designers reported that Lohan missed multiple fittings, forcing last-minute alterations, while Streep always arrived early for hers. During one crucial musical number, sound engineers noted that Streep had memorized not only her own harmonies but Lohan's as well, a preparation disparity that didn't go unnoticed by the cast. Meryl tried to cover for Lindsay a few times. One co-star later told The New Yorker, "But there's only so much one actor can do for another who isn't meeting them halfway." The evidence of their strained relationship emerged years later when Lohan, during her short-lived documentary series on OWN, made a surprising admission. "Meryl was the one person I wanted to impress, and I think I did the opposite," Lohan confessed. "She tried to mentor me in her way, but I wasn't in a place to hear it." According to the show's producers, Lohan revealed that Streep had attempted to have a heart-to-heart conversation with her about professionalism and longevity in the industry, advice that apparently fell on deaf ears at the time. In a particularly revealing moment, Lohan admitted, "She pulled me aside one day and said, 'Your talent deserves your respect.' I didn't understand what she meant until years later." The aftermath speaks volumes. While Streep has never publicly criticized Lohan, she has conspicuously omitted her when discussing talented young actresses of that generation. In a 2008 roundtable discussion about promising newcomers, Streep enthusiastically praised Anne Hathaway, Evan Rachel Wood, and Emma Stone, with Lohan's name notably absent. When asked directly about Lohan in a 2012 interview, Streep reportedly paused before offering a carefully measured response. "Lindsay has tremendous natural gifts. I hope she finds her way back to using them." Industry sources claim that Streep has privately used the experience as a cautionary tale when mentoring other young actresses about the pitfalls of early fame. Meryl believes in second chances. One director who's worked with both actresses told Entertainment Weekly, but she also believes in earning them. Meanwhile, Lohan has frequently named Streep as her dream collaborator for a future project, a reunion that insiders say is unlikely to materialize. Lindsay still talks about Meryl with this mixture of awe and regret, one producer noted. It's the relationship she wishes she'd valued when she had the chance. Patterns emerge. Streep's conflicts seem rooted not in petty disagreements, but in fundamental clashes over professionalism, preparation, and respect for the craft. Time and again, those who've crossed these boundaries have found themselves on the receiving end of her elegant but unmistakable disapproval. Harvey Weinstein. Once the most powerful producer in Hollywood, Weinstein worked with Streep on several acclaimed films, including The Iron Lady, for which she won her third Oscar. Their professional relationship spanned decades, with Weinstein's Miramax and later the Weinstein Company distributing many of her most celebrated works. From the outside, they appeared to maintain a cordial, mutually beneficial alliance until everything changed in 2017. The transformation from professional ally to moral adversary happened with a speed that stunned Hollywood observers. The rupture came with the New York Times and New Yorker exposés detailing Weinstein's pattern of sexual harassment and assault. As accusations mounted, Weinstein attempted to use Streep's name as a shield, with his legal team citing her as an example of a woman who had worked with him without negative experiences. This tactical use of Streep's reputation proved to be a critical miscalculation on Weinstein's part. Industry insiders report that Streep was incandescent with rage upon learning her name was being used to defend a man she now viewed as predatory. The receipts were devastating. The disgraceful news about Harvey Weinstein has appalled those of us whose work he championed, Streep stated in a blistering public response. She called his behavior inexcusable and labeled the producer pathetic and exploitative. More tellingly, she directly refuted his attempt to use her as a character witness. Harvey Weinstein's use of his relationship with me in an attempt to validate himself is pathetic and exploitative. According to sources close to the actress, Streep was livid that Weinstein would attempt to manipulate their professional history to deflect from his actions. One longtime friend of Streep told The Guardian, "I've rarely seen her so angry. She felt used twice over. First by having unknowingly worked with a predator, and then by having her name weaponized to protect him." Behind closed doors, the fallout was even more dramatic. Studio executives report that Streep personally called several industry leaders to ensure Weinstein couldn't use his connection to her as leverage. She was methodical about it, one producer told Variety. She contacted everyone from heads of studios to festival programmers, making it clear that any suggestion she was defending Harvey was categorically false. At a private dinner with female colleagues, Streep reportedly pledged financial support to legal funds for Weinstein's accusers, a commitment she made without publicity. The fallout has been complete and irreversible. Streep has since acknowledged being completely unaware of Weinstein's predatory behavior, a claim that has drawn both support and skepticism from industry observers. If Meryl didn't know, nobody knew. One actress who worked with both told The New Yorker, "That's what made the system so insidious." In subsequent interviews, she has reflected on the power dynamics that allowed such behavior to continue unchecked for decades. "We operated in an atmosphere where this kind of thing was in some ways sanctioned," she admitted to the New York Times in 2018. Not the criminal part, but the bullying and domination. According to those in her inner circle, the Weinstein revelations prompted Streep to become more outspoken about gender inequality in Hollywood, using her platform to advocate for systemic change. She reportedly established an informal mentorship network for young actresses, emphasizing the importance of solidarity and information sharing. What was once a profitable professional relationship has become, for Streep, a cautionary tale about the dark underbelly of the industry she has navigated for over 4 decades. She sees her rejection of Harvey as part of a larger reckoning, one collaborator explained. For Meryl, it's about redefining power in Hollywood, who has it, and how it's used. Pierce Brosnan. The idyllic Greek setting of Mamma Mia masked what crew members have described as one of the more tense dynamics on set. Brosnan, transitioning from his James Bond persona to a musical comedy, reportedly struggled with the singing requirements of the ABBA-themed production. Streep, meanwhile, threw herself into the musical numbers with characteristic commitment, creating a disparity that sources say led to friction between the co-stars. The clash of approaches became increasingly evident as filming progressed on the sun-drenched island of Skopelos. The discord allegedly began during rehearsals when, according to assistant choreographers who later spoke to Entertainment Weekly, Streep suggested Brosnan might benefit from additional vocal coaching. She meant it constructively, one source claimed, but Pierce took it as criticism of his abilities. What followed was a series of increasingly uncomfortable vocal rehearsals where Brosnan reportedly avoided direct interaction with Streep, preferring to work separately with the musical director. Sound engineers confirmed that Brosnan requested his vocal sessions be scheduled when Streep wasn't present, an unusual arrangement that created logistical challenges for the production team. The tension reportedly escalated during the filming of SOS, a duet that required both actors to perform together. Multiple takes were necessary, with director Phillida Lloyd diplomatically attributing the delays to finding the right emotional tone. However, makeup artists overheard heated exchanges between takes. According to one crew member who was present, Pierce was frustrated by what he perceived as Streep's perfectionism, while Meryl was trying to help him hit the notes without seeming condescending. The dynamic created what one production assistant described as a masterclass in passive-aggressive professionalism. Evidence of the tension surfaced subtly during the press tour. In a joint interview with the cast on a British morning show, attentive viewers noticed Streep and Brosnan sitting at opposite ends of the couch, rarely engaging directly with each other. When asked about their on-set chemistry, Brosnan offered a tellingly measured response. Meryl is, of course, a legend. Working with legends can be instructive. According to a makeup artist present during filming, Streep once remarked after a particularly challenging musical number, "Some of us are putting in the work," a comment allegedly directed at Brosnan's preparation level. In a separate radio interview when the host played Brosnan's rendition of SOS, cameras caught Streep's momentary wince before she composed her features into a diplomatic smile. Behind the scenes, the friction continued throughout production. Costume designers noted that the actors scheduled fittings at different times, while catering staff observed they rarely shared meals during breaks. There was this unspoken agreement to maintain space, one production coordinator told The Hollywood Reporter. They were consummate professionals, never openly hostile, but the temperature dropped noticeably when they were both in the same room. The aftermath has been revealing. When Mamma Mia! Here We Go Again entered production years later, industry insiders noted that the screenplay conspicuously limited scenes featuring both actors together. Streep's character appeared primarily in flashbacks, while Brosnan's role was expanded in the present-day narrative. During the sequel's promotion, Brosnan acknowledged his vocal limitations in self-deprecating interviews, but noticeably avoided mentioning any guidance from Streep. "I just throw myself into it," he told Graham Norton, carefully sidestepping any mention of his co-star's influence. For her part, Streep has remained diplomatically silent about any tensions, though those in her professional circle claim she has privately expressed frustration at what she perceived as a lack of commitment to the musical aspects of the project. Despite appearing in 2 films together, the pair has never collaborated again, with one casting director claiming they're known in the industry as a challenging pairing. It's not about dislike. The source explained, it's about fundamentally different approaches to preparation. Meryl believes in exhaustive readiness. Pierce prefers to rely on charm and intuition. Those styles simply don't mesh well. Meanwhile, as Hollywood partnerships go, some tensions simmer beneath the surface for years before becoming public knowledge. The next feud on our list dates back to the beginning of Streep's film career, yet its echoes continue to this day. Dustin Hoffman. Their first collaboration in Kramer vs. Kramer earned both actors Academy Awards, but came at a considerable personal cost. Hoffman, already an established star known for his method approach, reportedly subjected Streep to a series of unorthodox techniques designed to elicit authentic emotional responses. Streep, still early in her film career and grieving the recent death of her partner, John Cazale, found herself on the receiving end of what many today would consider inappropriate and abusive behavior. What should have been a triumphant early career highlight instead became a baptism by fire into Hollywood's darker practices. The breaking point came during filming of a pivotal emotional scene. According to multiple accounts, including later interviews with director Robert Benton, Hoffman slapped Streep across the face without warning before a take, a surprise intended to provoke a genuine reaction. The physical impact was real. Crew members reported seeing the mark on her cheek afterward. In another infamous incident, Hoffman reportedly taunted Streep about Cazale's death to manipulate her emotional state for a scene. He would bring up John sometimes before a difficult scene. One assistant director later told Vanity Fair he thought it would help her connect with the character's loss. It was cruel. These methods, while not entirely unusual in the method-obsessed 1970s, crossed lines that Streep has subtly referenced throughout her career. The tensions extended beyond these notorious moments. Script supervisors noted that Hoffman frequently questioned Streep's interpretations of her character, despite the fact that she had actively collaborated with screenwriter Avery Corman on developing Joanna Kramer's perspective. In one particularly heated exchange, Hoffman allegedly told Streep, "The problem is you're playing her too sympathetically," to which Streep reportedly responded, "The problem is you're only seeing this story from one side." Production assistants described witnessing Hoffman deliberately undermining Streep's confidence between takes, what one called psychological warfare disguised as acting advice. The receipts emerged gradually over decades. In a 1979 Time magazine interview, Streep carefully noted, "I'm not interested in leaving my skin to play a part. I give everything I can, but I'm not interested in the physical breaking down that some actors think is necessary." Though she didn't name Hoffman directly, industry insiders understood the reference. More explicitly, in a 2018 interview with the New York Times, when asked about her experience with Hoffman, Streep tersely responded, "It was overstepping." She elaborated slightly, adding, "This was my first movie, and it was my first take in my first movie, and he just slapped me. And you see it in the movie. It was overstepping." According to colleagues from subsequent productions, Streep has privately used the experience as an example of behavior she refuses to tolerate on her sets. She's established a no-surprise rule. One director who worked with her in the 1990s explained, "She believes brilliant performances come from trust and preparation, not ambush and manipulation." On sets where she has producer credit, Streep reportedly requires a pre-production meeting about boundaries and consent for emotional scenes, a direct response to her experience with Hoffman. The fallout has been lasting. Despite their award-winning performances, Streep and Hoffman have never worked together again. At industry events where both are present, photographers have noted they maintain a cordial but distant relationship. When asked about potential reunions over the years, Streep has consistently redirected the conversation to other topics. "I've been fortunate to work with so many incredible actors," she told Charlie Rose in 1995 when he suggested a second collaboration with Hoffman. "I'm more interested in new partnerships at this point." Following the Samisang Me Too movement and allegations of sexual harassment against Hoffman from other actresses, Streep's careful distancing from her former co-star has been interpreted by many as silent confirmation of long-rumored tensions. For his part, Hoffman has occasionally praised Streep's talent publicly, but has never directly addressed his on-set behavior during Kramer versus Kramer. When questioned about the slapping incident in a 2016 retrospective on the film, he deflected, saying only, "Different times, different methods." Their relationship stands as a testament to how much Hollywood's tolerance for abusive behavior has changed, and how much Streep herself helped change it. Meryl doesn't talk about it much. One longtime colleague told The New Yorker, but that experience shaped how she conducts herself as a leader on set. She made sure she'd never make another actor feel what she felt then. And finally, the most surprising entry on our list. Emily Blunt. This feud shocked Hollywood insiders precisely because it began after what appeared to be a productive and harmonious collaboration. Streep and Blunt worked together brilliantly in both The Devil Wears Prada, 2006, and Into the Woods, 2014, with no public signs of discord. Their chemistry on screen and apparent warmth during press junkets made the subsequent cooling of their relationship all the more unexpected. Industry observers point to this as perhaps the most perplexing of Streep's professional fallings out, precisely because it seemed so unnecessary. The rift reportedly began during award season for Into the Woods. According to sources who spoke to Variety, Streep was disappointed when her performance received significantly more attention than Blunt's work in the film. Meryl felt genuinely bad about overshadowing Emily. One Disney executive reportedly said, "She tried to redirect attention to Emily's performance in interviews, but it backfired." The situation allegedly became uncomfortable when Streep's praise came across as condescending to some observers, with one critic describing it as the Queen acknowledging a lady-in-waiting. During a roundtable interview, Streep reportedly said, "Emily's work deserves recognition too. She's coming along so beautifully." A comment that, while well-intentioned, struck some as patronizing toward an established actress with a decade of acclaimed performances. The tension apparently intensified when Blunt was overlooked for major award nominations, while Streep received her expected nods. Makeup artists working on subsequent projects with Blunt claimed she expressed frustration at being constantly compared to Streep. "It's like being perpetually cast as the student, never the master," Blunt allegedly confided to a hairstylist. Meanwhile, Streep reportedly felt her attempts at mentorship had been misinterpreted, telling one producer, "I was only trying to help elevate someone I genuinely admire. I never meant to come across as superior." The evidence appeared subtly in subsequent interactions. At the 2015 Critics' Choice Awards, attendees noted that Blunt and Streep, seated at the same table, barely interacted throughout the evening. One photographer captured a telling moment, Streep congratulating everyone at their table after a win except Blunt, who was engaged in conversation with someone else. More tellingly, during a red carpet interview, when asked about working with Streep again, Blunt offered an uncharacteristically terse response. "I've been lucky to work with Meryl twice. I think that's probably sufficient for any actress's career." The comment raised eyebrows among entertainment journalists who had previously heard Blunt describe working with Streep as a dream I'd happily repeat. According to makeup artists who worked with both actresses on separate projects afterward, Blunt once referred to Streep as brilliant but exhausting, while Streep allegedly commented that some younger actresses mistake ambition for craft. One cinematographer who worked with both claimed the tension stemmed from a fundamental shift in dynamic. In Prada, Emily was happy to be the acolyte. By Woods, she wanted to be seen as a peer. Meryl still saw her as the promising newcomer, and that disconnect created resentment on both sides. The aftermath has been subtle, but noticeable. Despite multiple opportunities for reunion projects, including several films that initially had both actresses attached, Streep and Blunt have not worked together since Into the Woods. Industry sources confirmed that a high-profile drama slated for 2018 was originally developed with both actresses in mind, but the project was reconfigured when it became clear they were reluctant to share the screen again. When Blunt received acclaim for A Quiet Place, observers noted Streep's conspicuous silence, in contrast to her usual practice of publicly celebrating former co-stars' successes. For her part, Blunt has gradually shifted from effusive praise of Streep in early interviews to more measured acknowledgments of her influence. When asked directly about their relationship in a 2019 podcast, Blunt chose her words carefully. Meryl is, of course, an institution. Everyone has their own process, and I've learned it's important to protect mine. Industry insiders claim the relationship isn't hostile but has cooled to a professional distance that neither actress seems interested in bridging. They send each other congratulatory notes through their publicists, one agent familiar with both actresses revealed. But the days of trading script ideas or meeting for lunch are over. What makes this tension particularly surprising is how unnecessary it seems. Two talented actresses at different career stages who could continue to create magic together, separated by what appears to be a simple case of wounded pride on both sides. It's the feud no one saw coming, one casting director noted, and the one most likely to eventually resolve itself if either would make the first move. Through these relationships, a pattern emerges. Streep's conflicts often stem not from pettiness, but from deep-seated principles about professionalism, respect for the craft, and maintaining certain standards in an industry that doesn't always value them. Her legendary status has afforded her the ability to choose her collaborators carefully and to distance herself from those who don't meet her expectations. Even in her 70s, Streep continues to set boundaries that reflect her unwavering commitment to her art. Those who've worked closely with her across multiple projects describe a woman who is generous, collaborative, and supportive until a line is crossed. Meryl gives everything to a role and expects others to match that energy. One frequent director explained, "It's not about ego for her, it's about respect for the audience, the material, and the privilege of doing this work." Another colleague put it more bluntly, "She doesn't suffer fools, bullies, or slackers. And she's earned that right." What do you think? Have you noticed other celebrities who seem to have fallen out with Meryl Streep over the years? Or perhaps you've spotted interactions that suggest some of these feuds have been resolved behind the scenes. Do you think Streep's high standards have contributed to her unprecedented success, or do they create unnecessary tension? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that subscribe button for more Hollywood insights, and share this video with a friend who's fascinated by what happens when cinema's biggest personalities clash. We'll see you in the next one.